Tuesday's chats with Jakey and the boys. Can you see my head? Don't want you not be able to see my head. We're going to answer some questions today, man. We've had quite a few. Got some off Instagram. When I do an Instagram question post, I get the same sort of questions, and you only get a minute to answer them, man, and it's hard to sort of... It just turns into a bit of a shit answer. So we're going to start with a couple from the previous YouTube video. So we've got here Gary Griffin. Jake, can you give me advice, please, mate? 10 stone 10, 5'6", doing something called strong lifts 5x5, eating 3,000 calories. According to the electric scale, I'm 22% body fat. I know they're not perfect. Would you say to cut? Basically, would you cut or bulk? And again, this is a common question, man. And again, it's hard to say without seeing pictures, because 22% body fat, like my man here, can look different on different people. So it's all about, are you happy with how you're looking? And if you're sort of in the beginning phase of training, and I'm talking less than 5 years of resistance training, you can still be building your physique. And I personally feel like the more time spent building your physique, the better. Not going into like extreme deficits and getting quote unquote shredded. I feel like avoiding that for the first like 5 to 7 years is going to be beneficial. But a massive caveat to that is you've got to be happy with how you're looking. And me personally, and a lot of the guys that I work with as well, are typically happier at a leaner composition. So that almost extends that period of time that we want to stay developing the physique if we do a leaner composition. But again, man, you'll just feel better within yourself. And like I say, that's what it's all about, really. This is like as soon as you start thinking long term with your training, things become easier to digest and easier to sort of wrap your head around, rather than just sort of thinking, right, 12 weeks, I want to blast this in 12 weeks, 8 weeks, I want to do this and do that. Just think long term, man. I'm talking like, this is probably the best bit of advice I ever got. Like, it's gonna take like 7 years to build your physique, and obviously when you're starting, you don't really want to hear that, man. But I just swallowed that pill early on, and I thought, right, I'm gonna lock in and enjoy this for 7 years and see where we get to. 5 years down the line, man, I was really happy with what I was seeing. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, man. Are you happy with how you're looking? If not, I would go down to like a composition where you're relatively happy, and that's typically between like anywhere between like 13 and 15%, or that's quite accurate, but around 15%, man. Get to a position where you're relatively happy with, and then stay in an improvement phase. And that doesn't mean like a super extreme calorie surplus. Just hang around the upper end of maintenance. And again, calorie maintenance, surplus, deficit, they're all moving targets, man. As you grow and develop your physique, your maintenance calories are going to be higher. So just keep an eye on things, keep tracking things, and just stay in a shallow surplus, if not high end of maintenance, and keep growing and developing your physique. And the main thing is, obviously, be happy with how you look and enjoy it. But yeah, another question, man. Hopefully that answers your question, buddy. On days, like, so the last video was about my sort of fueling strategies. On days I just do weights, do I have extra food? No. So on my base days, which can be anything like just a resistance session, which will be Monday for me, I just eat my baseline calories, which is around 2,800 calories. Again, it gets a little bit more complicated when, say if I've got a base day, I'm just resistance training, but the next day I've got a big CV session. I do like to sort of put some carbs in for that session, especially if it's in the morning, man. So it can get a little bit complicated like that, and that's why I get all my guys to concentrate on the weekly calories with a percentage that we refuel at any CV training. So it sort of, you need that weekly picture just to make sure you're on track, where again, me saying I just stick to baseline calories for one day, one session, doesn't really it doesn't give you the overall picture. And again, the overall picture is how we're looking across the months. And again, you can add food, reduce your refuels from that position. As long as you're happy with the composition that you're in, you're happy with how you're looking, and it's serving you for what you're currently training for, your training block. If that's an endurance focused training block, again, it could be beneficial to be a little bit leaner, a little bit lighter. So you've just got to take everything into consideration, and yeah, like that'll dictate your sort of daily baseline calories. If you're looking at adding a bit of tissue, you might want to have that. Say if I was doing that, I'd probably be more up towards 3,200. So again, just zoom out, bigger picture, and that will and that's ultimately going to steer you in terms of your calories, what you need to consume for baseline, and then what you need to refuel at as well in terms of any massive CV sessions. Hopefully that answers your question, Bex. Another one from YouTube. Have you tried fasted morning training? Is it possible to build muscle tissue? I do love training fasted in the morning, resistance training. I almost forgot how much I love it, but then I started doing it again. Basically how I was strapped for time, and I just did a morning session and I felt amazing, man. In terms of like being fasted, yeah, I don't mind a single session fasted if it's weights or running, but if like recently I've been having to do weights and running back to back. If that's the case, I basically look to hit 40 grams of carbs, and I do that via honey water and an electrolyte mix, and that sort of fuels me for both sessions, which again, I know it's not ideal, it's not the perfect world, but again, man, two babies, 2 under 2, I'll just take the sessions when they come, man. So hopefully. And yeah, can you build muscle in the morning if you're fasted? Again, you have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture across the day, across the week. Are you in a position to grow muscle tissue in terms of your recovery, in terms of your nutrition? Are you putting in enough fuel? That's going to determine if you grow. The resistance training is yourself. Obviously, you can improve performance and you can get more effective, but that's like the trigger. That's pressing the trigger. The growth in terms of muscle tissue comes from recovery. So sleeping, adequate nutrition, and everything around that. So 100% you can do it. It's when, for me, again, it always boils down to like the bare basics of consistency. If that morning session is your time to train, and we can do that for six months a year, perfect. But if you're sort of worried that that session's not as effective because you're not fueled as much, or like I say, you're just sort of worried that you're not going to build muscle because you're training fasted, so you put your session to afternoon and that gets ticked off at like 60% consistency. Again, you want to go to the place where you're the most consistent. So, but you can 100% build muscle tissue there. It's about the bigger picture, your total daily, weekly fuel that's coming in, and your recovery protocols beyond that. But hopefully that's answered your question, brother Daniel. Now we're going to the YouTubey questions, man. So, finding it hard to build muscle on the lower chest. Been doing home workouts with weights. Again, I get a lot of chest questions because that's the muscle that's most developed for me, and that's not through like expert training or anything like that. We've all got that genetic muscle that responds better to resistance training, and we've all got that bad muscle like my calves that don't respond as much. So for me, man, like in terms of like developing your chest, one thing I always say on the Instagram answers is zoom out. Guys often answering that question and they've been training for like 12 weeks or a year or 2 years, which is no time, unfortunately. Like I know guys, when you start training, you want to see these 12-week results, these 6-month results, which you will get some results, but if you zoom out and just think, right, this initial phase, you can streamline it, man. It took me like 5 years to get any real like good results with resistance training, but if you can streamline that process and maybe do it in 2.5, 3 years, because obviously the information I had was absolutely horrific, but we made it work, man. So, like I say, just zoom out, man. In terms of growing any muscle tissue, it's a case of increasing the demands over time with proper rest and recovery. And to do that, just pick 2 or 3 movements. Don't go crazy with like loads of movements, loads of volume. Pick 2 or 3 movements, track them, progress them in terms of the load. Again, there'll come a point in this journey of progressing them where it's not as simple as just putting load on the bar or adding weight to the movement. You have to look at the reps within the sets and look at driving in more total volume reps times sets times load. You've just got to drive in more volume. You've got to progressively overload that movement. So don't, like I say, main thing is give yourself time. If you've been training, just add a year on to whatever you're thinking. If you was expecting results in 12 weeks, add a year onto that, a year and 12 weeks. If If you're expecting results in 6 months, add another year onto that. You will get results, man. You will get results. You just got to keep chipping away. And yeah, like I say, just pick 2 or 3 movements that you connect with, that you can really connect with that target muscle, in this case, the chest, and then just concentrate on progressively overloading. And simply at the start, you can just keep adding load. That will come to a fairly quick end, and then you've got to get a little bit more tactical with the total volume that you're pushing through that muscle, and you will grow your chest. If it's upper chest, lower chest, I know there's like, can you target the lower chest, can you target the upper chest? In my opinion, I don't think so, man. Obviously a slight bias, but if you concentrate on getting a better flat bench press, or progressing flat movements, growing your chest overall, you will notice that your upper chest and your lower chest comes along for the ride. It won't be a case of you just get like a massive mid chest, if that makes sense. So hopefully that answers your question, brother. We're getting through. There's not too many more. Who is your biggest fitness inspirational influencer? Right. There's a lot of guys that I watch, man, and I respect them a lot. There's a lot of guys. Obviously, doing the hybrid training, Nick Bear's always popping up on the algorithm, which nothing but respect, man. He's got a massive team behind him doing mad stuff, and all the guys in the like BPM team as well. In fact, the guys who make the BPM videos are unbelievable. I don't know, like it's like a feature length film every time. So. All the athletes on there, all cool as well. In terms of like specifically for myself, man. Man, that's a good question. When I was in the Air Force, I did actually work with A.D. Gillespie, and I don't know like if he's still classed as an influencer, but as a bloke, yeah, proper sound, man. Actually, like. We were working on the same shift, you know what I mean? So we was working together, like pretending to fix planes, man. So it's crazy. Like, AD is the only person that I've met in real life that genuinely looks bigger in real life. Obviously, I know he's sort of transitioned away from like strict physique development, but in real life, man, obviously on Instagram looks sick, but in real life it looked even bigger. Like, it was almost, on the best way I can describe it, man. Do you know when you go to the races and you see them horses that are just lining up ready to run? You've got veins coming out like that. It was like that, man. Bigger in real life. And actually, yeah, funny story about like inspiration. Like I say, anybody who's doing the thing in terms of fitness on YouTube popping up, sound. Yeah. I pull inspiration from each one of them, you know what I mean? But a funny story is, my inspiration is probably it feels stupid saying it, man. I was just like young, getting into training, probably in like 6 months of training, and I just come across like a music video, Ja Rule, and he was just like, obviously I've seen his music videos growing up, like the old typical ones, and then in this one he was just like massive, and I was like, not massive, but like one of those physiques where you're like, kind of like that Brad Pitt physique where you're like, it just spurs you on a little bit. And I was probably just missed that Brad Pitt physique in terms of like what I wanted to look like. I was probably a bit young, but then Ja Rule came on when he'd just gone from like looking normal to like looking sick, and I thought, yeah, he looks sick, man. So that did spur me on. Obviously as well, we all sort of my age grew up with the Ziz, whatever his name is, and again, it's a bit cheesy saying that now, but you've got to respect the first guy to kind of do it and give a different perspective on fitness, where it's just not like, I don't know that. Yeah, I'd be lying if I say anybody didn't grab a little bit of inspiration from there. Obviously, for guys my age now, it's a bit cheesy, but again, I guess if he was still going, man, it would have developed into whatever. So anyway, yeah, you got to credit when credit's due, man. So Ja Rule and Ziz. Oh, what's my current split, man? Bless me. Okay, so in terms of resistance, Monday, they're called half bodies, but they could be, so they're basically split up to half body A is chest, back, and quads, and calves. Half body B is hams, shoulders, arms, and core. And then half body C and D is the same muscle groups with slight different variation in terms of exercise priorities. So the different movements will start, different muscle groups will start each workout, if that makes sense. So say, for example, half body A will be starting with the back movement. Half body, this is probably a bad example, half body C would be starting with a quad movement. In terms of like chest development, that's always sort of on the back burner. We just sort of tick that over. Same with the leg volume, because of the bike volume and the running volume, it's fairly minimal. In terms of CV, it's so if we start from Monday's rest from CV. Tuesday is a 30-minute easy run and a 30-minute spin on the bike. That's Tuesday, sorry. Yeah, Wednesday is a longer ride, 2 to 3 hours, which I'm going to tick off after this. What we're on Thursday is, in terms of CV, is a 30-minute run, and I'm going to put this at the side, man, because I'm just going to butcher this off the top of my head. 30-minute run and 30-minute spin on the bike. Friday is potentially, I want it to be this week a swim, but it's somewhere around like 45 minutes of low impact, so it's probably going to be bike or swim. I really want that to be a swim, man, but I've got all the excuses in the world, but it will be a swim. And then Saturday is the long ride, and Sunday is the longer run, which is not that long at the minute. It's going to be 60 minutes this Sunday. 55, 60 minutes, depending on the soft tissues. So yeah, I'll put that there, man, because obviously I've just destroyed that. But hopefully, yeah, that's my split, brother. How many years in the gym? Right, 17 years. I think officially 17 years, unofficially probably maybe 19. So basically, when I started training, I was in the gym at I would have been 17 and a half. And I always remember my first session. I kind of have a stigma with the gym, like I don't want to be going to the gym and showing people that I'm like trying to work out. That's just, I don't know. I think the almost the culture that I grew up in is like, don't get caught trying, which is mad, innit? Like I say, you need to make out you're not trying. So I was like, and for me that was so difficult because I really wanted I love to try, man. I love to try shit, and I love to I like to try a lot, man. But I suppose that's not cool, but what was I saying there? Yeah, so first session in the gym, I just did 45 minutes on the rower and got a mad pump. And then I drank about 6 litres of free orange juice and felt like shit. That was my first session. But beyond that, I sneakily was doing push-up sessions. Probably when I was like 16, 17, I was sneakily hitting push-up sessions in my room, man, and just getting like mad pumps. So I sort of got ahead of the game in that regards. But again, they were sneaky, man. Didn't want to get caught trying. And then I actually traded a PlayStation, must have been a PlayStation 1 game, man, for a bicep that went from like 5 kgs to like 10 adjustable little weights. I traded it with a guy at my school, man, and I was sneaky getting in push-ups and then bicep curls. And the reason I did that, man, is because I used to play football a lot, and I noticed that obviously as you grow, your body changes and stuff like that. And I would notice I was getting significantly slower. Back in the day, I could just run past people, so it made football very fun. But then I got to a point where I was just trying to do it, and I was just like, I'm not moving as fast as normal. And then from the 90s, I suppose it would have been 2000s, the research that I could pluck up was, I just got the information that if you've got bigger arms, you'll be able to run faster. And I don't know, don't ask me, man. Don't ask me where that come from. So that's where I got the trade-in, man. PlayStation game, dumbbell, hit the biceps, started knocking the push-ups out. And again, it was probably like twice a week or something like that. But we got some results, man, because I remember the guy that I traded the dumbbell off, he was just like, you've been training, ain't you? And I was just like, bless me. But yeah, that's the story about that. So 17 years officially, man. 17 years officially, which is mad, innit? The cost of living questions, right? So I get this question all the time. How much do you spend in Thailand per month? What's your monthly food expenses in Thailand? That's an easy one to answer. My monthly food expenses is around like £150. I'll put the conversions there. And I know that's cheap because I live in one of probably the cheapest places in Thailand, man. So in terms of like monthly expenses, I'm married to a Thai and we've got a house, which that's the mortgage, which is about like 500 quid. And then like my main expenses is just looking after my kids and putting them through school, which is not quite right now. But beyond that, man, all my expenses are tied into what I'm doing for work in terms of training, and that's what I like doing. So it's quite like obviously I've created like a little weird bubble where I get to train. I get to train as my job, which I'm over the moon with. But like I say, it's hard for me to say to you, like, yeah, I spend whatever it is, man. I spend like £1,000 to £2,000 per month, depending on what I'm doing. And like I say, if you're single living in Bangkok, like I said, I as you've seen, man, I live like nowhere. It's great for training, but if you want to be like I don't know, it's not Koh Samui, is it? You know what I mean? I'm not living, I'm in the mountains, man. I'm a mountain man, so my cost of living is low, because all I do is spend money on my food and training, and that's tied into my business, and I just look after my kids and pay a mortgage, which is just like a boring dad life, you know what I mean? So, happy days. Hopefully that, I know that's a shit answer, man. That is a shit answer, and you're thinking, I want to move to Thailand, what am I going to do, man? Just come with like, I'd say just come with like 5 or 10 grand, depending on what type of person you are, and then just set something up to work in there. Despite what you see online, there's loads of things you can do to work in Thailand legitimately. It's all the older guys who are like, nah, you got to do this, do that. There's loads of companies, man. You can, again, depending on what skills you've got, there's a lot of different visas as well in terms of working online. So just get your sen here, man, and it's, like I say, you'll love it. How did I end up in Thailand? I've probably told this story before. It's not some kind of like mad, like social, what's it called? Digital nomad plan that I had. It's just a case I met a girl in Sydney who I thought was from Chile, South America, but she was Thai, and boom, here we are. We're here. We're living in the north of Thailand, 40 kilometres away from the Burmese border, on the border of Laos, with 2 kids, not been home for 5 years. Bless me. So yeah, it's a pretty like underwhelming story, but it's just, my game plan through life is just go with the flow. And this is where the flow's leaded me. So happy days, man. But hopefully I've clipped a couple of questions there. I think this has gone a bit longer than I expected, which is bless me, man. But thanks for watching. See you on Friday, Saturday the latest, for the vlog. Bless you. Bless you, guys. Get your sent out here as well, man. Everybody who's watching this is welcome. Welcome. I know it's not a cheap flight or anything like that, but you're welcome to come. I'll put you up. For sure. 100%. Get your sent here, man. Get your sent here. Get yourself here. That's North East Derbyshire. Your sen. Bless me. Turn this off, Jakey boy. Come on.